If you've been researching how to paint your own cabinets, chances are really good that you've come across online DIY influencers using a mini roller to paint their cabinets in a way that looks like this. I see reels and videos online all day long where people are just haphazardly rolling paint onto their cabinets and leaving it at that. But I'm going to show you how implementing what I call the roll and tip method will instantly improve your cabinet painting results and make them look more professional. But first, let me explain why this is important. When it comes to painting your own cabinets, you basically have three application methods to choose from. One, you can spray the entire job. That's where you're spraying your frames and the boxes inside your home, and you're also spraying the doors and the drawers that you can remove outside of your home, like in the garage. Two, you could choose to paint by hand the entire job. That's where you're using a brush and a roller inside your house, and you're also brush and rolling your doors and drawers. Or three, you could do a hybrid painting approach and mix the two. That's where you would be painting by hand inside of your home with a brush and roller, and you would only be spraying the pieces that you can remove outside of your home, like the doors and the drawers. This hybrid cabinet painting approach is very, very common. But here's the issue. If you are going to brush and roll and paint by hand the frames inside your home, and you're going to spray the doors and the drawers, those two paint finishes, since they're being applied in a different manner, when they come together, they need to match as closely as possible. And getting a non-sprayed paint finish to match and look like a sprayed paint finish is very, very tricky, because when you put those doors back on, you're going to want the two finishes to look as close to the same as possible. And this is where my roll and tip method comes to the rescue. To demonstrate this, I've made some samples. So here we go. In this example, I've prepared a sample board by applying 2 coats of Ben shellac-based primer. Then I sanded the primer with 220 grit. Truth be told, I wish I had done a better job sanding this nice and flat, but I just gave it a quick once over with the sandpaper, so it's not the greatest sanding job, but for the purpose of this demonstration, it's fine. As you can see on the left side, I'm rolling, which is what I see everybody online teach and recommend. I'm rolling an oil-based primer with a mini 4-inch velour roller cover. And on the right side, I'm demonstrating my roll and tip method. I'm applying the same oil-based primer with the same 4-inch mini roller, but then I take my brush and simply tip off the primer. In one uninterrupted stroke, you evenly brush over the wet surface immediately after the primer is applied with the roller. The brush removes the stipple texture left by the roller. Already you can see how much smoother the surface looks on the right side. But I'm going to speed this video up so we can watch it dry and then come back to look at the results. All right, here's our sample board after it's dried. And one could argue that both sides look the same, right? But watch what happens when I turn on the inspection light. You can clearly see how much texture the rolled side has versus how smooth the roll and tipped side is. The difference is crazy. If you're wondering why use a roller and then a brush, why not just brush the paint on? That's a great question, and the answer is quite simple. A roller gets the paint applied to the surface faster and easier than a brush. When you brush, it takes longer to get the paint onto the surface. You're dipping into the paint, you're brushing it out, dipping, brushing. Also, when you load your paintbrush with the paint and you plop it down onto the surface and then you start to spread it around, the paint mill thickness is going to be thickest where you plop that brush down first. And then once you're brushing it around, the paint mill thickness is going to be thinnest where you are brushing, and then you feel the need to reload your brush with more paint. This difference in the paint thicknesses throughout the cabinet panel is just one of the many ways that your cabinet paint job can scream amateur. Unless you're really experienced with brushing, I don't recommend only using a brush to paint your cabinets. Instead, using the roll and tip method means that you can roll the paint on, get it nice and even and quickly, and then you're only using your brush as a tool to smooth out the roller stipple. That means you're just going to make all of your brush marks nice and pretty and neatly uniform. So there's quite a big difference between just brushing paint versus the roll and tip method where you're rolling the paint first and then tipping off. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, but if you use a really good self-leveling paint, the roller won't leave as much stipple texture. And I knew you'd say that, which is why I have this next sample. This sample board was also prepped the same way. 2 coats of Ben Shellac primer, and then I sanded it. Next, I used the same type of 4-inch mini roller to apply Benjamin Moore Advanced paint in satin sheen on the left side of the sample. And I rolled, then tipped the same Benjamin Moore Advanced paint on the right side. If you're not already familiar, Benjamin Moore Advanced paint self-levels beautifully. It's one of the best self-leveling waterborne paints available on the market. But as you can see, there's still roller stipple texture left when the roller is used. The stipple does not completely level out and disappear, whereas if you tip it off, the subtle brush marks will almost level out completely. And I have one more board for you to see. Here's what a rolled and tipped application looks like next to a sprayed application. On the left side of this board, Advanced paint was rolled then tipped, and on the right side, I sprayed the Benjamin Moore Advanced paint. As you can see here, the rolled and tipped side looks very similar to the sprayed side. And by comparison, here's a side-by-side photo of the rolled only paint next to the sprayed paint. You can see that if you were to spray your cabinet doors but rolled your frames, the 2 different application methods would not match. And before you say it, let me stop you. No, it does not matter what kind of roller cover you use. You could use the best quality foam roller cover and you're still going to be left with roller stipple in the end. If you rather use a foam roller instead of a velour roller cover, so be it, that's fine, but I really want to encourage you to still tip off. Now, it's true, there are probably a lot of people out there who would never notice or care about the 2 different paint finishes not matching. But since you're here and watching this video, I have a very good feeling that you would notice, and not only would you notice, it would drive you crazy. So there you have it. Implementing the roll and tip method will instantly make your cabinet job look so much more professional. Let me also add that this same method applies to if you're hand brushing your entire job. Even if you're not trying to get your hand painted finish to match a sprayed finish, you're still going to be left with a much more professional looking job if you were to roll and tip the whole thing, doors and everything, versus just using a roller to paint everything. So while maybe to some of you this is just like a very small detail that doesn't matter, I promise you in the end, this is huge. Like this is a good secret to know. If you'd like to know all my tips and tricks in a start to finish guide on how to paint your cabinets like a pro so that your paint job doesn't end up screaming amateur, my DIY Cabinet Painting 101 Masterclass will walk you through every single step, start to finish. My masterclass contains clear and easy to follow sequential video instruction, all housed in one easy to access location. No more searching Google for the exact answers to your specific questions during the process, only to be overwhelmed with the differing opinions floating around YouTube, Reddit forums, TikTok, Instagram, blog posts. You get the idea. From site protection, proper cleaning and sanding preparation, primer and paint application, to a beginner-friendly sprayer tutorial and everything in between. After this masterclass, you will walk away with everything you need to know so you can confidently paint your cabinets like a professional. Brought to you by yours truly, somebody who's painted cabinets in hundreds of homes over the last decade. So if you are done wasting time trying to track down all the secrets and the tips and the tricks that you need to know to paint your cabinets really well, I invite you to join my masterclass so you can quickly go from being too scared and overwhelmed to even get started to where you want to be, which is hosting your next family get-together in your newly painted and updated kitchen that you love. The link to the masterclass is in the description, but you can also go to DIYCabinetPainting101.com to learn more and get started today.